business is about relationship, relationship should be always win-win, because we're talking about relationship where both party get a gain. They win, not one party winning at the expense of others.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Leadership Stack Podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs to increase your leadership, teamwork, and profits. This is your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today on Leadership Stack, we have Mr. Bruno Cignacco. And guess what? He is all the way from Italy. And this is the first time we have a guest from Italy, actually. So I'm very excited to have him on the show. And the things that you're going to be learning today is very different from what we've had in the past guestings. It's all about compassion. Now, how does compassion tie up to leadership? How does compassion tie up to entrepreneurship? How does it tie up to management, to your bottom line? That's what we're going to be learning today. Dr. Bruno, thank you so much for being here on the show. We are honored to have you here.
Thank you for your invite. I'm very honored. Thank you.
What we want to know at the very beginning, and this is what actually makes the show so interesting to a lot of listeners. When we watch superhero movies, the first movie is usually the best one, the history of how they became a superhero. And that's actually what we want to know with you. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. Not you, your profile, your bio is amazing. You're a TEDx speaker, you've written so many books, you're consulting for so many clients. What was it like getting to where you are today as a human-oriented training consultant?
Thank you for the question. It is a very insightful question. I want to comment about my beginning. My starting point was approximately 25, 27 years ago. I started as an accountant, working in an accountant studio, and also doing the traditional accounting advisory such as tax, budgeting, costing, and all this. But then I turned into international trade, international marketing, international trade, which implies import-export activities. This was traditional advisory to consultancy on how to enter new markets, how to penetrate different markets worldwide, and also how to import goods from other countries. And I did this for many years. This was also traditional advisory, traditional consultancy services. And also what I did is also developing international marketing strategies that could help companies, even small, medium-sized companies, to enter different foreign markets. But over time, I started noticing that companies were only oriented, only profit focused, only oriented to the bottom line, what means profits. And they were not acting in a very humane or human-oriented way. This means, for example, caring for employees, or caring for suppliers, or caring for the community members, or even caring for customers. So they were focusing only on a business aspect of their transaction. They were not focusing on the human aspect of their transaction. So then a while ago, I read an article titled The Human Moment at Work, published in Harvard Business Review. And this got my attention. And I observed that the author of this article commented about human moments, commented about technology, how technology hindered the communication between different employees, because they don't allow, this communication doesn't allow these employees to connect on a mental and emotional level. And I was a bit intrigued, and I noticed also that many companies, many new companies, a new generation of companies were acting both in a compassionate way and in a profitable way. Some examples are Whole Foods or Last Cosmetic Company. Many companies, a new generation of companies, are focusing on what we call the triple bottom line, focusing on profits. This means that it's very important for survival, but also for business success. Focusing on people, which means caring for employees, paying a good salary, recognizing when they contributed to the company's mission, and also caring for customers, caring for offering good product, high value, but also caring for suppliers, developing win-win agreements. And also caring for the planet, being environmentally friendly, using recyclable materials, And I noticed that there was some research on this, but I wanted to go deeper. And I tried to research on this for 3 years, and this was coronated by my new book, The Art of Compassionate Business, published by Routledge in 2019. This is a short story of my evolution. And then I started advising companies on compassionate business or compassionate customer relationships or compassionate relationship with different stakeholders or generosity in business or gratefulness and business, different non-traditional topic that could be of interest for many companies.
You mentioned your book, The Art of Compassionate Business, and I'm super interested about that and your idea of compassion for stakeholders. Now, I want to know, why do you say your mission is to help companies not just become very profitable, which is already great, but also become compassionate with their stakeholders? And the implicit here is, I'm wondering, you're talking to directors, you're talking to C-level executives, and you tell them you have to be compassionate. I could see some pushback there because maybe they're wondering how is this going to affect our bottom line? How is this going to be affecting our branding? I'm sure that you have faced these pushbacks. How do you deal with them?
Very true, very true. I have faced with a lot of resistance from CEOs, from directors, from managers, and they told me, what matters in business is profit. What we're talking about, compassion. Compassion sounds like a bit soft. We have to achieve objectives, things that are quantifiable, that can be measured, that can be counted. For example, profit, market share, for example, sales. And I told them that quantitative aspects of business are important, what can be measured, what can be counted. But a very famous thinker observed, not everything that counts can be counted, or not everything that can be counted counts. So we have to understand that there are qualitative aspects of business, what cannot be measured. For example, compassion, empathy, support, care, generosity. And I told these leaders that business is about the human being. You cannot succeed without human beings. No, paraphrasing a very famous thinker, no company is an island. No company can succeed on its own. Companies, taking into account the famous management guru Stephen Covey, companies are interdependent. They depend on suppliers, they depend on employees, they depend on community members, they depend on customers. So when companies treat all these stakeholders, individuals and groups with interest in our organization, in a compassionate way, according to a very famous social psychology principle, the law of reciprocity, when you treat others in a compassionate way, they tend to support you in return. Instead, when you treat them in a very non-compassionate way, they tend to withdraw, they tend not to cooperate, they tend to choose other companies. Employees will try to look for other job opportunities, customers will look for other companies, community member might even boycott your company's products and services, and supplier might look for other buyers because they only want win-win agreements. So I mentioned that the built-in brick of any business activity is the human being. And many CEOs and directors told me, no, but we want key performance indicator. We want to achieve profitability, productivity, efficiency. And I told them, these indicators are very important for business survival and success. But these indicators, you can only achieve these indicators when you develop long-term, mutually profitable relationship with different stakeholders. Because these indicators are always the natural result of the interaction between a company and the company's stakeholders. So when you improve the relationship with these stakeholders, these indicators tend to improve in a natural way, in an organic way. So this is very important. And some CEOs understand because there is a new generation of CEOs, obviously much younger CEOs that are much more open-minded, and they understand that when you care for people, when you treat people in a very compassionate way, you generate what Daniel Goleman observed, an approach of emotional intelligence. You are being not only recognizing your own emotion and expressing them overtly, but you are being compassionate. You are being caring with others, and others tend to act in return in the same way, in a reciprocal way. So this is very important because the building block of any business is the human being. The employees are the interface between the internal environment of a company and customer. If we don't treat employees in a compassionate way, if we don't pay a fair salary, but also caring for them, this means recognizing with a thank you note when they did their best, when they went the extra mile for this company, employees will get resentful might look for other job opportunity. I might even work by the book. When we don't care for customers, try to deceive customers, and they try to offer products that are not of value for them. We only offer products that are of value for our company, the one that we can get higher profit. This customer might discover this and might go to other companies and might even leave negative reviews online. So this is not good. And when we don't care for communities are very aware nowadays, and we can see that they see when they perceive when companies are only to get their resources and they don't give anything back. When a company is not acting in a socially responsible way, this community won't support the company when they have difficulties and might even boycott companies' product. The same applies to suppliers and other stakeholders. So it's fundamental. So business is about relationship. Relationship should be always win-win, because we're talking about relationship where both parties get a gain, they win, not one party winning at the expense of others. If a company is, and every single stakeholder should win, if a company is selling good product to customers, company is getting profit, customer is getting profit. But then the company, when producing this good, is polluting the environment, there is one stakeholder, the community, and the environment in general, that is not benefited from this transaction. So I always tell my clients that they have to ask themselves a very important question. Is this business decision benefiting all stakeholders that are related directly or indirectly to our company? If not, I would have to rethink this decision because it's not compassionate.
Very good insight right there. And, I'm reminded of this story that Patrick Lencioni, I don't know if you know him, but brilliant guy. He says that there is this TV episode that he watched, and the husband of Lucy comes home and he says, "What are you doing?" And Lucy's looking for something in the living room. And she says, "I lost my earrings. I can't find them." And then the husband says, "Oh, you lost them in the living room?" And Lucy says, "No, I lost them in the bedroom." And then the husband says, "Then why are you looking for it in the living room?" And she says, "Because the lights are better here."
Yes,
And
I know this story.
it's the same with a lot of other companies who wants to deal with those measurable things. I love what you said. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts.
Very important.
Really true, really important. That resonates with me. That's going to my Facebook page. So what I love that you mentioned, it's not all about the measurable things. It is the thing that deals with the human emotion that matters.
But there are other difficulties in business. There are other difficulties. For example, you see in business, they're using a lot of terminology of terms, words that are related to warfare. For example, strategy, tactics, beating competitors. So this doesn't sound very compassionate to me. And some companies tell me, but we have competitors. But in some cases, these other companies that you call competitors can be potential partners. You can develop partnership, or you can take them as model to emulate. But there is always this warmongering approach that beating others or exploiting employees, taking advantage of others, that is based on what I call in the book a scarcity mindset. This means resources are scarce, we have to fight over these resources. Companies should use more words related to good qualities such as support, care, compassion, empathy. In the book, I use the word love, and many entrepreneurs get a bit confused because they relate love to the sentimental connotation of love that you feel for your family, your friend, your partners. This is a very interesting but limited connotation of love. Here I'm talking about a much more humanistic connotation of love, which include compassion, empathy, support, care, generosity, gratitude, and this can apply to any relationship, business relationship and non-business one. And there is a lot of research. I give you an example. According to Barsade and O'Neill, a loving work environment, there is a paper called What Love Have to Do with It, a scientific paper. And this author observed that when you have a loving work environment, employees tend to feel much more satisfied. There is higher employee productivity, lower stress levels, lower absenteeism, lower turnover, and this author corroborated the fact that this environment brings about higher profits. This means that affect the bottom line positively. It's not only like what we can call new age approach, but it's much more focused on what we call positive psychology. It's based on science. This means that treating others in a compassionate way, treating others in a good way, in a caring way, bring about good relationship. People feel at ease. They don't feel frightened. They don't feel threatened. They can think clearly. When people feel at ease, what we call psychological safety, when people feel at ease in the work environment or as a customer or as a business partner, people can think clearly. They can use their discerning skill much more insightfully, and they can obviously bring about much more creative ideas. Instead, when people feel threatened, this means that they feel that they have to fight over resources. They tend to focus only on the threat or what is the threatening factor, and they cannot think clearly. The thinking skills are narrowed down to the threat, so not good. So bringing about positive relationship, mutually beneficial relationship, is not only good for business, but also for communication, interaction, rapport. I mentioned also in the book that many companies only try to focus on what we call business topics instead of knowing more about the human being, how to connect to others on a much more humane way. And this is very important because the basis of any business activity is a human being. We're not talking about roles. Roles are important, but roles is a very limited view of different stakeholders. We have the human being. Can we know more about them?
This episode is partnered up with Armoury.ph. Armoury is an online watch store and is the exclusive distributor of the brands TW Steel, Dion Milano, Fonderia, Luminox, and Mondane in the Philippines. Yes, folks, those are Italian watch brands. If you are looking to buy your next go-to luxurious everyday watch, go to Armoury.ph and enter the coupon code LS30. Armoury.ph delivers straight to your doorstep with a security tape to make sure that your package is safe from theft, arrives on time, and is guaranteed working 100%. Go to Armoury.ph and buy your first luxury watch today.
So if our monthly recurring revenue is growing, that is one of the best ways to measure if we're growing as a company. Another way to measure if you're growing as a company or a business is your people. Are you growing in the number of people you have in your team?